Terima kasih Bapak Ibu yang sudah bergabung. Alhamdulillah sudah bersama dengan kita keynote speaker Bapak Profesor Dr. Andi Faisal Bakti dan juga sudah bergabung bersama kita Bapak Profesor Dr. Nasir Nayan dari Universitas Pendidikan Sultan Idris Malaysia. Kita menanti satu keynote speaker kita lagi dari Thailand. Dr. Arifin. Ya, insya Allah kita akan mulai tepat pukul 20 waktu Kendari. Bapak Ibu mohon izin kita akan rekam sesi kita hari ini dan juga akan live di Facebook. Ya, jika berkenan nanti di akhir sesi saat jelang pukul 22 kita akan mohon untuk membuka videonya bagi yang belum membuka untuk kita dokumentasikan. Ya, sekali lagi terima kasih sudah bergabung. Dalam 5 menit insya Allah kita akan mulai. Terima kasih Bapak Profesor Dr. Andi Faisal Bakti sudah bergabung di tengah-tengah kita, juga Bapak Profesor Dr. Nasir Nayan dari Universitas Pendidikan Sultan Idris sudah bergabung, dan juga insya Allah kita akan memulai tepat pukul 20.00 yang akan dimulai dengan sambutan dari Bapak Ketua STIE 66. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu sudah bergabung pada kesempatan kali ini. Begitu pula sudah bergabung Bapak Dekan Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis Universitas Haluleo, Bapak Profesor Dr. Arifuddin Masud. Ya, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bapak Ibu
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
yang
wabarakatuh.
terhormat, terima kasih semuanya sudah bersedia bergabung dalam rangka opening session dan juga keynote speaker pada pelaksanaan International Conference on Environmental Awareness for Sustainable Development. Kesempatan kali ini adalah tahun ketiga di mana MASIKA ICMI, Majelis Sinergi Kalam Ikatan Cendekiawan Muslim se-Indonesia, berkolaborasi dengan STIE 66 dan juga Universitas Sulawesi Tenggara untuk kemudian kita laksanakan ini sebagai usaha dalam mensosialisasikan sustainable development di lingkungan perguruan tinggi dan juga para kolega kita. Terima kasih atas dukungan kita semua sehingga kegiatan ini bisa terlaksana dengan baik, dan terutama pada kesempatan kali ini keynote speaker kita Bapak Profesor Dr. Andi Faisal Bakti. Beliau selain sebagai dosen Universitas Islam Negeri Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta, juga beliau adalah UNESCO Chair for Communication in Sustainable Development, dan juga turut bergabung Profesor Dr. Nasir Nayan dari Universitas Pendidikan Sultan Idris Malaysia, dan satu lagi Dr. Arifin dari Chulalongkorn University Thailand. Kita mulai opening session dan keynote speaker kita pada malam hari ini dengan sama-sama melafazkan basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Pada kesempatan pertama, opening session dan juga keynote speaker kita pada malam hari ini, kami mohonkan kesediaan Bapak Ketua STIE 66, kami sapa dengan takzim, Bapak Dr. Bakhtiar Abbas, MSc, untuk memberikan pengantar sekaligus membuka sesi kita pada malam hari ini. Waktu dan kesempatan sepenuhnya kami mohonkan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to all of us. First of all, let us say praise to God, the merciful Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, for the blessing of life and knowledge for us together in this heavy occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, I would like to welcome the speaker at the international conference, Mr. Professor Dr. Andi Faisal Bakti from the Syarif Hidayatullah Islamic University of Indonesia, Mr. Prof. Dr. Nasir Nayan from the Sultan Idris Education University Malaysia, Mr. Dr. Arifin Yama from Chulalongkorn University Thailand, Mr. Dr. Tahsin Abu Bakar from the University of Brunei Darussalam, Mr. Dr. Hamad Ali from China, Mr. Dr. Satya Tenavan from the International Institute for Population Science, India, Mr. Dr. Linda Sunarti from Indonesia University, as well as to the present and invited guests who are member of this forum. I am very happy you can be with us today through the Zoom application in the transition to pandemic COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, the international conference, I am at discussion areas where problem in potential risks regarding environmental sustainability. Human security factor play different role in relation to environmental sustainability, and conference will highlight the role of these factors. The International Conference 2020 on Environmental Awareness for Sustainable Development, ICEASD, which has become a routine activity for STIE Enam Kendari,
Ya, oke, silahkan Pak Ketua lanjut.
The International Conference 2021 Environmental Awareness for Sustainable Development, ICEASD, which has become a routine activity for STIE Enam Kendari, and will provide opportunities for research to communicate and how to highlight and bring attention to these issues in education, especially cross scientific disciplines. This event is a reflection of the commitment of STIE Enam Kendari to always improve the quality of education and accommodate more opportunity for cooperation in the academic field. This opportunity, I would like to congratulate the Center of Quality Assurance of STIE Enam Kendari, we has organized in international conference. I hope it can support the effort of STIE Enam Kendari to become an international standard university in the near future. Finally, I would like to and again extend my warmest welcome and say thank you very much to all the guests and participants of the international conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to Chairman of STIE Enam Kendari already present the opening session, and then bring some notes that the International Conference on Environmental Awareness, actually it is initiative of the STIE Enam since 3 years ago. And Alhamdulillah, this is the 3rd year that we already have, and all the publication we did it through the European Union Digital Library, but this year during the pandemic we will have it edit volume. The first opportunity, we would like to present the paper from Professor Dr. Andi Faisal Bakti of UIN Jakarta, UIN Syarif Hidayatullah, and the same times the Professor Andi Faisal Bakti, he is a UNESCO chair of the Communication for Sustainable Development. So without further ado, times is your fault.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'du. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer, of this international webinar. Is ICEASD 2020, by it's not, and then our moderator, our chair is adjunct professor Dr. Ismail Swardi Weke, and also I would like to appreciate and for this invitation to me to Dr. Bakhtiar Abbas, who just addressed the welcoming speech.
Yes.
And of course, Dr. Nasir Naya, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris Malaysia, and then Arifin Yama, Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. Actually, I wasn't aware if this seminar will be in English or will be in Indonesian, because I checked my staff today, and then until before was not clear yet. But anyway, whichever language we can.
Yeah, if
present.
we can have it bilingual, Prof, because our colleague from Thailand already joined. So if you don't mind, so we can have it bilingual. Yeah, time is your Prof.
Okay, so can you please display the PowerPoint presentation that we already sent to you? Yeah. And please help me to operate. Okay, this one, the title is Communication for Sustainable Development in the Peripheral Areas, Active Reception Model. So to be presented in this international webinar organized by ICEASD 2020. In particular, I guess, is the STIE 66 Kendari. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I see some problems that we can raise for this presentation. Number one is I see development becomes an important issue for developing countries. That means that development, it is not, sometimes it does not really develop, but in fact make a country even degrading and dropping into the lower situation or lower condition. Second, development is still not independent, not evenly distributed in the peripheral areas. The development is like, for example, in Indonesia, we only see in Java or West Indonesia, western part of Indonesia, but central part of Indonesia, let alone in the eastern part of Indonesia, still lag behind. Actually, the current government already introduced the so-called the 3 T's, meaning terluar, terbelakang, dan terdepan. And then the third one is lack of confidence in the nation's own capacities or capabilities. For example, the case of Habibi, is a project of aircraft has been cancelled, and then while this actually very promising, if you would like to develop a country using technology. And also development still focuses on modernization from outside, not on creation and innovation from within. Okay, these are the problems as I noticed that we should address and solve in terms of communication and development in peripheral areas in Indonesia, for example. Okay, next.
Lack of confidence in the national.
Okay, please. Okay, the thesis statement before that. So, okay, major question that I would like to raise here is how is the actualization of development communication based on the active reception model in the peripheral areas be developed. Yeah. And then the minor question are, what are the existing elements of development communication, and to what extent are these elements applied in the development of developing countries in the peripheral areas? Okay, next. And I believe that the active reception model can be applied in this development process in the developing countries. Sometimes we call it third world countries, because it raises individual awareness to make change and to create civil community or civil society or masyarakat madani. Because active reception is a criticism of development communication theories so far that always believe that the center of the government, the center of economy should be also the way to develop a country. Once the center is developed, and then the peripherals will be also developed the way the central government or the central authorities and economy is developed. Okay, next. Okay, active reception model is basically, there are three. Number one is individual should be active in interpreting messages. It is not the victim of messages, as many people believe. Number two, it change from within. Yeah. If you believe in this model, the change should be from inside. In fact, from individuals, which is based on personal awareness. And then the third one, activeness to bring about changes in civil community. That means that the ultimate goal of active reception model is to establish a so-called civil community or masyarakat madani, al-mujtama al-madani. Yeah, next. Okay, development communication, there are four lines that we can see here, that communication activities that occur in the development process. So it is very important that the process of development is the key to change. And of course, also dissemination of information, culture, and technology between developing countries, yeah, which is called peripheral nations, and developed countries, that usually also called core nations. And then for the development policies, we can see that cross communication between central and peripherals, and peripheral and central should be always active. So not only top-down model from modern countries, advanced countries, to the peripheral countries. So development should be bottom-up. Okay, next. Next, please. Okay, so if we see the first theory that we call information theory, there are two opinions, or there are two tendencies of this word or theory of information. One who believe that information came from the words inform and Asian. Asian is suffix. Yeah. That means that information should be coming from outside. This is the theory that came up after the Second World War. The first one came out was the so-called theory of SMCR, sender, message, channel, and receiver, who believe that if the sender deliver the message through media, and the receiver will be automatically also understands, and then automatically also knowledgeable the way the sender is also knowing something about being informed. But the theory, the next one, the so-called theory of effects, believe that there is no communication, there is no information unless you have an effect of the information itself. However, the third theory came out was convergence model, who believed that setting aside the activeness of humans or recipients such as news controlled by the media giants. For example, dominant films such as Hollywood and Bollywood embracing capitalism. Okay. While the third theory, the fourth theory is sender is not dominant. This is who believe that information coming from two words, in and formation. That means that you create from your inside your own understanding about information. You have your own way of creating a meaning. That means the sender is not dominant, because uses and gratifications is actually playing very significantly in the process of information. That means that a receiver can understand an information depending on the usage, on the uses and gratifications. So it is based on the awareness and the activeness of the recipient. This is also related to decoding of meaning, yeah, also related to the negotiation amongst equals, yeah. However, there are theory of hypodermic and bullet and panacea and authoritarian. All these top-down theories, but the theory of antibody and then bulletproof and boomerang local medicine negotiation should be developed in peripheral countries, peripheral areas, in order to establish their own information from inside, not from outside. So basically, this theory believes that you have to make your own news, you have to make your own ideas, you have to develop from inside your community, your country, your areas, not from outside. Okay, the next one. Okay, in terms of change or social change in particular, so there are also 4 theories here, but the first 3 theories is basically a top-down strategies. Number 1 is modernization. That if you want to change a country or an area, you have to really modernize, changing their traditional way of life. We have to be modernized. And then the second theory was dependency, that believed that in order to be developed, you have to be dependent on the modern countries. But the third one is multiplicity, which is believe that change determined by many factors, such as political, social, cultural, economic development from the regions, or from the peripheral, or from the local communities. However, these 3 theories are basically top-down strategies, which is challenged by this theory of bottom-up, that if you want to develop a country, you have to have the so-called self-help or self-sufficiency strategy. You have to create your own country, your own community. You have to have enough clothing, shelter, and food that you develop from inside. And then independent economy, and of course, very important that you have your own personal culture and sovereignty in politics. So these are the main theories of this social change from the bottom-up strategies. Okay, the next one. Okay, in terms of development, there are also 4 theories, but I mentioned here 3. Number 1 is the diffusion of innovation, that believe that in order to develop technologically a country or a periphery, you have to transfer the technology from outside. Yeah, all should be coming from abroad. You have to import technologies in order to be able to live the same way as the Japanese, the Korean, the European, and the Americans, etc., etc. Okay, and then the second theory is social marketing. This theory is actually very useful for the Japanese early development in 1950s in particular, because this the Japanese believe in the so-called small but beautiful. So they create this technology. They imitate the technology of the European and the Americans, and then they invented this Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, Mitsubishi, etc., etc. And eventually also Korea followed the same way by making this Hyundai and KIA, including Samsung, etc., etc. And then these two countries developed very significantly, starting by Japanese 1960s until quite lately, and then for the last 20 years, the Koreans also developed the same way as the Japanese, doing this model of small but beautiful, or precisely social marketing strategies. But the third one is participatory, that they believe the theory of development, believe that in order to develop a country, you have to have assembly vehicle, you have to make the vehicle, for example, or automobile, for example, in the country where these technologies will be sent to, will be developed. So you don't have to import, but you have to assemble it in the country where it's supposed to be used. And then eventually Avanza, Xenia, Alia, Agia, etc., etc., we see everywhere in the cities or towns of Indonesia, because it's quite affordable and then cheap for many people. So consequently also the streets become overcrowded and jammed. Yeah. However, the last theory actually for active reception model, that you have to create your own technology. So actually Habibie was quite successful at the beginning to introduce the aircraft technology in order to be able to have the same level as the West and the Japanese and the Australian, etc., etc. Because if you can create an aircraft, all technologies, let's say most of the technologies available in the aircraft. You have refrigerator, you have microwave, you have also TV set, you have also radio, you have etc., etc. That means that you can all create this kind of technologies once you are able to create aircraft or plane. However, this project has been cancelled, so it's a very a shame. And then now Indonesia cannot even export anything. Probably even a fan, you know, kipas angin cannot even create, been created in Indonesia. Okay, the next one, yeah. Okay, and the last part that I would like to mention is the civil society. That the end goal of this model of active reception strategies is to establish the so-called civil society, but precisely civil community. What is the difference between the two? Civil society, as I say, is a secularistic development from the state, market, public, and then private spheres. And sometimes the state and the market control the country, that we call oligarchy, and then the public and the private in the other side. Sometimes also the public work together with the government, with the state, with the market, and then individuals are left behind. So, but if you can establish this model, you are considered as a civil society country. Yeah. In the Quran, it's actually also mentioned takwin al-ummah, but basically minus faith in Allah. That means you don't have to believe in God in order to become a civil society country. While the next one is civil society, a civil community. This is based on development from the other way around, from the private individual development, and then you establish a society, and then eventually you have a strong market, and then if you can afford, also create a strong state, which is considered from the Islamic point of view, that you establish your nafs, anfus, and ahlun, qabila, kabail, kaum, syu'ub, etc., etc. This is to create the so-called khair al-ummah, exemplified community, which is belief also in God. So this is what I'm suggesting. The second one, which is a civil community. Civil society, of course, is also great, but the problem is they don't believe in God Almighty. They don't believe in the unseen objects. While for the believers, we have to also believe in these unseen objects in order to really develop our own community based on this commitment to others, because you are also evaluated, you are controlled by the Almighty God, and also the unseen entities like the angels and etc. Okay, the next one. Okay, so this one, the communication development, we can see now there are regional autonomy, there are decentralization of development, there are also the problem of it, because they create the so-called arrogance among local leaders. Terjadi semacam raja-raja kecil, ya. Okay, consequently, development runs in the politics of interest. This is the problem. And also areas that active in development are seen to be more prominent than other regions. This is the problem of decentralization, yeah. And also development still does not look evenly distributed in all regions. For example, in Indonesia, if you go to the central Indonesia, is less developed than western part of Indonesia. And then if you go further in the area of Kendari and the area of Maluku, let alone Papua, are not yet very developed the way we see, for example, in the western part of Indonesia. Okay, next. Okay, thank you for the attention. Hopefully you can get something valuable or interesting, and then I'm ready to take questions if any of you would like to address or pose questions regarding this presentation. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Andi, already delivered the keynote speech about how it relate the environment, how about the communications, and I already in the early of our session already name it that Prof. Andi is one of the UNESCO chair, and he is maybe the only one, Prof, in Indonesia as we have UNESCO chair. So
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Prof. Andi is responsible for the sustainable development in terms of communication. So Prof. Andi already state that if any one of us would like to raise any questions about the presentation, so times is yours. You can write down here in the Zoom group chat, or you can raise hand and open your mic to say something in response to Prof. Andi presentations. anyone anyone want to raise hand or there is one question, Prof. How to develop the perspective of Eastern, because somehow the um, the theory is coming from Europe and coming from US, and then how if we can develop our theory of communication, how the theory of sustainable development on our own perspective. Is it possible, or there is no chance for us to develop our own perspective, Prof?
Okay, and actually the theory that I'm trying to introduce here is exactly supports the idea from inside, the idea from within the community. So this is what I call it active reception model. That the receiver, let's say the community members, should be really active in creating, in innovating, in finding a way of changing themselves. Yeah, not transferring technology from outside, not just consuming anything from outside. Because if you do that, you ended up by selling all your natural resources. You have nothing left. You will sell your jungles and then timbers and probably mines in order to buy their technologies. While the most important thing is to be able to create from within your own technology, including our basic needs. So that's why I started the theory of so-called information. The old theories believe that information is coming from outside, but actually information should be coming from inside. You have to create your own information, your own knowledge, your own science. That means you have to do research. Yeah, you have to really getting from a local knowledge. Yeah, every communities have their own opinion leaders. They have their own great experiences that sometimes also called as a local genius, local wisdom. So this is very important. We need from outside only to have a share of experience. But basically, you have to develop yourself, like the Japanese itself. They develop their countries based on the technology, the science they got from the West. And then eventually the Japanese became, in fact, still become a very important economies in the world. Is really comparable to the development of the West, either Europe or America's continents. So this is, I really hope that we can continue developing this model, and then we don't need to borrow money from outside, because the more you borrow, the more you have to pay the interest, and then if you cannot develop your own business, chances that you are going to sell all you have in order to pay your debt. And now our debt is quite huge. I think it's already 5,000 trillion rupiah. If you divide it by 250 million people, so I think everybody should have 200 million debts. Very, very scary, actually, if you see from this perspective. But if you create your own technologies like the Japanese, like the Koreans, like the Taiwanese, and then eventually you can also use all these products for your own population, because we have a huge population. We have 270 million people here. They all need cars, they all need refrigerators, they all need air conditioner, they all need microwave, they all need small cars and etc. etc. If you sell this you will get for your own country. You don't need to sell, send the money to the creator of the technologies from Japan or Korea or whatever you import from usually. Okay, so I believe that the 4 theories, I wish I could have explained this around 2 hours, but you know we have limited time, so I only take a very important points of this theory. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Andi. One question more from the audience, that how we can relate our condition right now to communicate with the Indonesian people, since our people, there are in many standard, not the same as in Jakarta, but different place, different standard. The second one, is it possible to put our dream to achieve the sustainable development in terms of we have daerah terluar, terpencil, and tertinggal, in terms of we cannot reach out the same standard of our cities. This is from the audience. Please, time is your, Prof.
Okay, so the main or the most important thing is to develop is, of course, education. Yeah, a primary education until university levels, and also informal education at home in the family should be strong, and also non-formal education in the community, like for example in the NGOs or in the mosques or in any worship places, for example. And then this should be hand in hand, because we notice, for example, in Europe, how Europe was developed is the same way as this, the same way in the States. But the problem is that they have been quite long time ago. It's took them like 200, 300 years to reach a certain level of development. But if we compare to, again, to the Japanese and the Koreans, you know, we know the Japanese were basically deserted, you know, in 15th of August 1945, once the Second World War, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, for example, was bombed, and then nothing left. But the good things that they have human resources development. Yeah, so they all quite illiterate. So these are the most important thing. If you have a good education, so natural resources can be really developed later. A lot of countries can be developed without actually sufficient or rich natural resources. I think that Japan is included in this case. Later on, like Korea and Taiwan and Singapore, for example, even Hong Kong. Yeah, but Indonesia, you know, we have almost 2 million hectares of land, which is also surrounded by waters, very rich, and then we have jungles, and then everything is available here. And then we have 12 hours sunshine, and then we have 12 months, you know, basically. There is no winter, there is no autumn, there is no all summer. So basically, so this should be quite good enough for Indonesian to develop their own economy. And regarding this 3T ya, ini juga sebetulnya kita bisa, ini sebetulnya satu teori yang masuk dalam kategori multiplicity tadi itu, teori ketiga. Tapi itu persoalannya memang kalau hanya selalu menunggu dari pusat saja, menunggu bantuan dari pusat saja, sementara pusat itu tidak pernah mau meneteskan kesuksesannya ya ke bawah, sehingga alat tapisnya tadi malah menjadi beku sehingga tidak turun-turun ke wilayah terluar tadi itu. Artinya apa ya, wilayah ini memang pemerintah daerahnya itu harus aktif tadi, resepsi aktif itu, agar bisa betul-betul kreatif ya, mengangkat nilai-nilai lokal yang ada di sana, mengupayakan agar bisa mendapatkan spesialis atau teknokrat ya, teknokrat yang bisa membantu mereka. Nah, ini pernah juga saya pikirkan apa yang disebut dengan industri padat karya. Nah, ini yang seharusnya bisa kita lakukan. Jadi daerah-daerah 3T itu ya industri-industri padat karya, sehingga orang-orang yang pintar dari Jawa, dari Sulawesi, dari Sumatera itu bisa ke sana membantu. Tapi bukan atas nama sebagai transmigran. Nah, ini transmigran ini kan sering menjadi masalah karena mereka dipindahkan berdasarkan dari keinginan pemerintah. Nah, beda umpamanya kalau kita berpindah seperti Pak Profesor kita ini, Pak Ismail Woke, ya itu pindah itu bukan karena transmigrasi, tapi karena dibutuhkan menjadi intelektual di sana. Ya, saya umpamanya pindah juga dari Sulawesi ke sini, ke Jakarta, ya karena ada kebutuhan juga di sini. Jadi bukan karena dipindahkan. Nah, ini juga yang jadi masalah kalau memindahkan orang miskin ke daerah miskin, mengambil wilayahnya orang miskin juga, ya kapan majunya di sana ya. Makanya orang-orang daerah itu sering mengatakan, kamu kok mengirimkan orang miskinmu kepada kami, kemudian kamu memberikan fasilitas kepada mereka, orang miskinmu itu, sementara kami juga miskin, tidak diberi tanah, tidak diberi fasilitas, tidak diberi insektisida, pestisida, padahal kami juga tidak punya apa-apa, bahkan kadang-kadang kamu mengambil kami punya wilayah begitu. Ya, karena kami tidak mengolahnya beberapa tahun, sehingga menurut aturan pemerintah ini sudah menjadi milik negara. Nah, padahal kalau sistem di Papua, di Sulawesi, di Dayak, ya orang memang bercocok tanam, pindah tempat, nomaden ya, karena ya tidak ada sistem pupuk, sehingga dia akan buka lagi lahan dari 2 tahun, baru kembali lagi ke asalnya tadi itu. Nah, ini memang kemudian bisa melahirkan juga konflik karena tadi transmigrasi yang sifatnya bukan volunteer ya, orang-orang Bugis yang banyak di Sumatera, banyak di Kalimantan, yaitu Papua, pada dasarnya adalah transmigran yang volunteer yang penuh dengan sukarela, sehingga mereka membangun diri di sana, tidak mengambil hak-hak orang-orang lokal ya. Nah, saya kira begitu ya pandangan saya ya. Ini sengaja saya bahasa Indonesia supaya karena ini soal 3T tadi itu ya. Itu Pak Profesor Ismail.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Andi. Already collect at least 3 questions from the floor, and we already have enlightened from Prof. Andi about the interrelation between how the communications, and in the same time we have the possibility to reach out the sustainable development. And one I would like to notice from the Prof. Andi speech about the 20 or more than 20 years ago that we suspend or we stop the project of the airplane, and this year, Prof. Andi, we already put it on the museum. So
yeah, right.
And 20, yeah, it is already in the museum. And I am afraid that during the late of Habibie, it is the momentum to burn out at the same time ICMI. But I do in the same time optimistic that ICMI not will be the same of the aircraft will be in museum, because we have Prof. Andi, we have friends, and we have a lot of the new spirit of ICMI to rise as the one community again in Indonesia. Again, thank you, Prof. Andi, for delivering the speech on behalf of STIE Enam, Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi Enam, in collaborating with the Universitas Sulawesi Tenggara and MASIKA ICMI. For sure, you already now the MASIKA is the Badan Otonom of Ikatan Cendekiawan Muslims Indonesia. This is the third year, Prof. Andi. We enhance the cooperation between STIE and Enam to this one. The next, our keynote speaker is Professor Dr. Nasir Nayan. He is a professor in University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia. So times is your Prof. Nasir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Adjunct Professor Dr. Ismail WK. A very a good presentation from Prof. Dr. Andi Faisal Bhakti. Maybe I would like to hear more from you in the near future. And also, I would like to thank the organizer of ICEASD 2020, particularly Dr. Bakhtiar Abbas as a chairman, and also the Dean, Professor Afifuddin Masood. Okay, I would like to share my presentation with all of you, and if you have something to say about, to share about, and so on, later on we will be a good, I'll call it a discussion on that. Okay, can everybody see the presentation form?
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, before we continue with the presentation, I may need to we'll call it introduce myself. My name is Nasir, and my father name is Nayan. Hopefully, people from the northern part of Peninsular Malaysia will have a surname like a Nayan. Okay, if you see people with the surname Nayan, you may assume they are from the northern part of Peninsular Malaysia. Okay, I'm basically from Kedah, northern part of Malaysia. Okay, Peninsular Malaysia. I am with the Department of Geography and Environment in Faculty of Human Sciences, University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Tanjung Malim, Perak. Tanjung Malim is outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. It's about 1 hour's travel from Kuala Lumpur. You will find we'll call it Tanjung Malim to northern part. Okay. Today I would like to share with you. I would like to have something with you. The title of the climate literacy among youth in Malaysia. Okay, it may be a very general term of climate literacy in the world now. People really talk about the climate literacy from 1990s, 2020, and so on. But what I like to share is actually the we'll call it how actually the youth can really involve in the how actually we would like to know the capability of the youth to see the situation of the climate change. Either they know about the situation at the present moment, what's actually happened and so on. Okay, before that, maybe what we can see from the presentation is the situation, what we call it, the world situation now. Even now, we have the COVID-19 that shift the what we call it, the focus of people around the world. But before that, we have the climate change situation where we can see most of the people, most of the countries in the world a hot topic in the countries. Okay, this is because of the situation where the climate change actually we can believe that it will cause the change in human, plant, and animal life ecosystem. Okay, in the and even that we suspect, we expect that the contributor of the climate change is mainly coming from the human activities. The acceleration of the climate change, the impact of the climate change is coming from the human activities through the development like the emission of gases from the carbon, CO2, and so on. Okay, that will be the topic that we see people knowledge. People would like to know either a group of people know or not about the situation of the climate change. Okay. Also, we see the uncontrollable climate change will sometimes will accelerate the natural disaster, such a big flood, such as what we call it, the rain, and so on. That will be a situation where we see the impact of the climate change in global area. Okay, before we continue with the presentation, we may need to know the what we call it, the concept of a few keyword that coming from the presentation. That will be the either the literacy, what is actually the climate literacy, and what is actually the use. Okay, some people may think the literacy in the traditional way, where they are believe that if a people, if an individual or a group that have the ability to use the language for writing, reading, listening, and communicating, there will be a literacy. That will be the situation where the literacy for the we'll call it a traditional way of understanding the literacy. Okay. But in the traditional way, there are two things that correlate with the literacy, that people can read and people can write. Okay, but before we go to the literacy itself, we may need to reconsider the climate literacy. We have so many things about the literacy. Historical literacy and so on, but for this presentation, it just for the climate literacy. Okay, but once we say about the climate literacy, the important thing is the understanding of the a few basic three basic concepts. That will be the Earth's climate system that can be understood and predicted. The area of climate studies is increasing. The cumulative understanding of the Earth's climate system is still developing. and the study with regard to climate rely on empirical evidence that can be published and certified through the experiment studies. Okay, what actually the key point of the climate literacy is the what we call it empirical evidence that can be shown to the people, the understanding of people about the situation in Earth, what the actually happened in such a situation. Okay, and the third one is the use. Okay, in Malaysia there are some what we call it the a group of people that gazetted as a youth. Okay, they are from the 15 to 14 years old in Malaysia, but I believe some countries will have their own definition of youth. It may be different from country to country. Okay, to understand the climate literacy in Malaysia, we actually do the KAP model to understand the situation, the climate situation, literacy situation in Malaysia, and we test it in two areas, namely in Tanjung Malim and also in Klang district. Okay, the KAP model is from the knowledge, attitude, and practice model developed by Swatch. That person practice is influenced by knowledge and attitude as well. Okay, what actually the KAP model do is to identify the situation where we can see the level of climate literacy from the people with their knowledge, from their practice, and also from their attitude itself. From the three main we call it situation, we can see the level of climate literacy in a certain area. But for this presentation, we are going for the youth from 15 years old to the 40 years old. Okay, we apply the CAP model. Okay, but before we see the result of the CAPS model, we may need to see the what actually the knowledge cover. The knowledge component that we cover is in three major elements of sustainability, such as environment, economy, and social. Okay, and the attitudes that coming from the CAP model is where we are like to measure the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor that involve in call it in education kind of perspective. Okay, and also the last one is a practice of skill. Okay, actually how they react to the knowledge. Maybe some people may have the knowledge, but they are not practicing the knowledge. That will be two different things that we need to see. Okay, but in the practice, what we see is the either they have their own research kind of innovation or data analysis that they have, or the leadership and communication, how they communicate within the group and so on. Okay, all of these are giving us a good what we call it level of climate literacy. I would like to understand the situation where some of the we can intercept through the education with the either in what we call it in lower level of education, start from the 6 years old to 7 years old to the pre-university kind of education. Okay, this is a situation where we can see the where we have the community and the physical environment. Okay, we try to apply the methodology where we actually get the what we call it a use in what we call it in UPSI, the University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, and also in the Klang district. Okay. Actually, we what we call it developed the an instrument, questionnaire as an instrument to get the knowledge, to get the attitude and the practice skill among the youth. And maybe some people would like to apply the other kind of methodology, such as with a question for to detect the knowledge and so on. But for this one, we are trying to get the KAP model to get the background of the climate literacy. Okay, the respondent is about the what call it the 800. 800, 400 is from the Klang district, and another 400 is from the UPSI, and it is randomly selected. Okay, we have five part of the questionnaire, where in the section A or part A, it's only the background of the respondent. You are trying to get we'll call it the correlation between the age and so on, because we believe in district of Klang we may have people which is start from 15 years old, but in UPSI we may have use from the 20 or 21 years old people. It may give us a different kind of result. Okay, and with the section 2 or part B, we are trying to get the climate literacy, where all the items is built in from the what we call it our literature review, and we combine it and make it as one set of questionnaire. And C, climate change, and D and C. Okay. And we'll call it during the methodology, the analysis, and so on. We are trying to test the reliability with the reliability test, and also we use as a descriptive analysis to see either the we call it the result is good or not. Okay. At the end, what we're trying to see is a mean score, which a group of what we call it people that went to either in level low, medium, or high. It comes with the some kind of quantitative approach, or this kind of we call it methodology. Okay, this is the what we call it a result shown as age and what we call it the income, household income, and the call it account from the a separate kind of background. Okay, and this is what we see the really what we call it finding of the UPSI, where we can see the knowledge of the people, of a group of people, of a youth, either in environment, social or economy are very high. Okay, from the what call it I mean of the from the statistic, and also what we see from the uh, second one, what we see, they are in a high situation where we see the level of knowledge, the level of attitude is high, and same goes to the last one for the practice. But the situation is kind of different, where we may have the what we call it, the knowledge and the attitude is high, but they did not practice what they have, as a knowledge and attitude. That's why we can see some people, the level of the practice is at the medium kind of level. Okay, and that will be the conclusion. But I like to see the situation where development will keep coming to us, but how the people will react to the change. It come from the individual to the group and so on. Okay, but we also need to know how to instill the value, a good value towards the environment. Then they can practice a good one. Okay, that will be the situation where who had the information will conquer the world. That's why we are trying to get the people of either they have the knowledge, how they react, the attitude, and the are they practicing what they know about the climate change and so on. And we believe one of the way is to educate our people, and the main point today is our youth from the 15 to 14 years old. That's all for today. Thank you very much, and I'm open for what we call it any suggestion or any what we call it question and so on. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Nasir. Already delivered how the some issues about Klang and how about the environment in the perspective of the it is about the education. And one thing I would like to notice for ladies and gentlemen and this distinguished guests, that Prof. Nasir and I already traveled through the Raja Ampat, and then at the time we invite him to come to Raja Ampat, at least to share with the students in UPSI how beautiful the land of the Papua, because somehow if we say Papua, couple, colleague or student or people scared about it, and there is no more information about Papua, at least about the situations, and then Timika and Prefort and another issue. It is time for us to raise any questions related to the presentation of Prof. Nasir, and then you may type down over there in the Zoom group chat, and then or if you like, you can turn on your microphone. There's one question, Prof. How to linkage the experience of university, for example, UPSI, to raise the environmental awareness in terms of the experiences from Malaysia. So microphone is yours, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ismail. Okay. As you aware, UPSI maybe just like UP, University Pendidikan Indonesia, where we supply a group of teachers to the we'll call it a school in Malaysia. Okay, we have 4,000 or 5,000 people of teachers going every year to the school. And what we believe, if we can instill, we'll call it the kind of knowledge to the pre-teachers, it will good for them to instill the value to their student too. Okay, that will be the what we call it one of the reason we like to know the knowledge of our climate change level among our UPSI pre-teachers. Okay, because we may have some kind of situation where in Malaysia we don't have any kind of climate change or environmental kind of syllabus in either lower school or in we'll call it in secondary school and so on. It may come from the some what we call it in either in science or in other in geography, we call it mata pelajaran khusus, courses in some part in what we call it in secondary school. Okay, and with that, we believe if we can intersect with we call it we put more effort to educate our pre-teachers, it will give a good value for them to give back to the student in school. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Nasir, for the answer. Another questions is from the floor, that how the Malaysia experience see the jerebu somehow or frequently coming from Indonesia, because even the jerebu is a problem of Indonesia, but it will affect of Malaysian side, not only eastern part of Malaysia, but for sure it will be in the western part of Malaysia. Do you have any response for this question, Prof?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, in what see from the Jerebu kind of point of view, we may need to split into two area. One is in Peninsula, and another one is in Borneo, Sabah and Sarawak. We normally experiencing the we call it the hazard, the jerebu kind of situation where the monsoon kind of from the Barat Daya. But I think the situation in the latest development is kind of a good one, where we can see the Jerebu situation is not worsened from let's say 5 or 10 years back compared to the last time. Because last time we may experiencing a problem same like in Riau, but in 5 years time we may have a little kind of impact on the Jerebu, but the situation we believe that people prepare themselves for the Jerebu every year. Okay, they understand the Jerebu will keep coming, but how they react to the situation. Okay, the government will play their part. The people will play their part too. Their let's say a mass will be keep coming, but not like COVID-19 situation. Okay, that's all. Any other question?
Thank you, Prof. One more questions. If we see the tagline of University Science Malaysia, for
Okay.
example, a garden, university in the garden, and I see another one that how the beautiful sakura in the University Kebangsaan Malaysia for the
Okay.
time, and then
Okay.
I do believe that for sure in the couple universities or higher educations in Malaysia, they practice how to make it a university, not only ecosystem for learning and teaching, but at the same time it is ecosystem for the world, because
Yeah.
we can see the forest is the forest in the university. For example, University Malaysia Sabah, another example that how that the university itself as the place, the safe place for environmental conservation. Do you have any kind of a response, Prof, how the Malaysian side or Malaysian experience to see the linkage between university and the environmental conservation, and the university is one of the best example itself.
Okay. That's maybe a kind of difficult question that I need to answer. Okay, but I believe the most of the conservationist people are coming from the either from the university or either in an institution that lead to the environment. Okay, that but some university play kind of role too. But in let's say in UPSI, we are embracing to the zero carbon situation, where we like to have at least 25% of carbon emission going out from the our campus. Okay, that will be a good start for UPSI to contribute towards the environment. And a few days ago, we just have the we just started our forest as a lab, a living lab. It may have, if I'm not mistaken, it will be a 25 acres or hectares of forest to be used as our living environment lab, living lab. Okay, it will be a good one to start.
Thank you, Prof. Nasir, already share with us a lot of things from the Malaysia experience on behalf of Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi Enam in collaborating with the Universitas Sulawesi Tenggara and MASIKA ICMI, one of the autonomous organization under Ikatan Cendekiawan Muslim Indonesia, would like to thanks for your participation and delivering speech during our conference. And our International Conference of Environmental Awareness for Sustainable Development 2020 is the third conference that we have during this pandemic. We make it virtual, and then everyone can join through online because Kendari City, where the hometown of Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi Enam is one of the to name it a red zone of the COVID-19. So to avoid this particular condition, so we decide to make it online. Again, Prof, thank you for participating. And the next keynote speech from our colleague from Thailand, Dr. Arifin Yama. He will present the perspective of Thailand and how the conditions in Thailand through this environment. And then Dr. Arifin will talk a bit about the contribution of Islamic institution toward Islamic learning in Thailand. Without further ado, Dr. Arifin Yama, times is yours. Can you listen my voice or any kind of speaking from here, Dr. Arifin Yama? Yeah, we still have the technical problem with Dr. Arifin. He is already on the group, but to await his connection to the Zoom. And if you would like to have a certificate and to be invited for the next session, we have Google Form in the Zoom group chat. Please have it and fill it now before the end up of the sessions. And then inshallah by tomorrow we will have our second session, the presentation. Tomorrow, the moderator will be Dr. Ramadan Tosepu. He is alumni from Mahidol University in Thailand. And then we will have panels over there. We will have, our speaker, Dr. Tasim Abu Bakar from University Brunei Darussalam. We have Dr. Satya Tenafan. He is from she is from India, and two panels from our lectures in STIE Enam will be Indira Yuwana and Arvin Bagea. So if you already on the group, the Zoom, Dr. Arifin, so time is yours. Do you still can listen us? Yeah, you can unmute right now. I click the or make it here for you to as a co-host. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Without further ado, time is yours, Doctor.
It's my time, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening to everybody. Thank you for inviting me to the conference. Actually, I'm on the way now. Just stop my car for this session. I may speak for briefly about the Islamic institution in Thailand uh, toward this contribution toward the Islamic learning. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Okay, please.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Okay. Sorry for that. When we talk about the Islamic institution in Thailand, we can divide it into uh, two two parts. First is uh, government uh, under the government, and then is second is uh, non-government. For government is Islamic under the government control. It is we call the Islamic institution of the Chula Ratchamontri. It means Sheikhul Islam, which is hello. Oh,
Okay,
sorry
go
for.
ahead, Doctor. Clean and clear right here.
Oh, it's, I cannot hear anything. Sorry.
Yeah, just speak your voice clean and clear right now. Still with us? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, just go ahead, Doctor. Yeah.
Hello.
Your voice is clear and clean right now, so you can go ahead to speak. Dr. Arifin Yama, you can go ahead. Your voice still here, or lost contact. Yeah. Fortunately, our colleague, Dr. Arifin Yama from Thailand, because any obstacle and problem lost connection with us, we will see how to the further time with us. At least we already have two keynote speakers, and then for those who need the certificate, let us get your name, email on the Google form. So the organizing committee will send you the certificate after this closing ceremony. Our program will be 3 days, started from tonight, and tomorrow we will have 2 sessions, and on Sunday we will have 2 sessions. For the first session tomorrow, will be moderated by Dr. Ramadan Tosepu, and we have a speaker from Brunei and India, and the panels 2 lectures of STIE Enam, Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi Enam. And then the second session for tomorrow will be Another one, a panel 2 for tomorrow with the moderator of Dr. Harifuddin Halim from Unibos, Universitas Bosowa, Makassar. And then the panel will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dr. Sudirman from Yayan Sorong, and another one, Muhammad Nur from STIE Enam. We have the next one, Abdul Shaban from STIE Enam, Niken and Nita, all the colleague from STIE Enam. And then it seems, yeah, we have trouble the connection with the connection with Dr. Arifin. So it is unfortunately he cannot connect with us, but I will try to reach out for him once again. Hello, Doctor. Waalaikumsalam. So we lost connect with you, but would you like to speak over there and I put on the Zoom meeting? So just go ahead for presentation only by your sound. So time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Wait.
Ya, Bapak Ibu, saya akan menghubungi Pak Arifin karena kendala koneksi dengan beliau, sehingga kemudian kita tidak bisa, beliau tidak bisa bergabung dengan kita melalui Zoom, namun beliau akan presentasi melalui suara dengan melalui akun ini. Mudah-mudahan bisa tersambung sekali lagi. Ya. Sambil menunggu itu saya ingin sampaikan, jikalau Bapak Ibu berkenan, ada Google Form di situ, silahkan diisi nama dan keterangan, sehingga nanti panitia akan menjawab, akan mengirimkan sertifikat melalui email, yaitu electronic certificate. Saya akan berusaha sekali lagi dengan Dr. Arifin. Kalau tidak memungkinkan, maka kita akan halo, ya, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I will discuss briefly about the Islamic institution in Thailand and towards the contribution toward Islamic learning. Actually, Thailand is a Muslim majority country, but still we have a minority Thai Muslim, which consists about 5% of population. When we talk about the Thai Muslim, we can go further to say that the majority of Thai Muslim is Malay, which reside in southern part of Thailand and central part of Thailand. In southern part of Thailand, there are Malay Muslim, which is unique, whether in Islamic tradition, in language or custom. But Malay Muslim in central, I mean in Bangkok or territory of Bangkok, there are Malay Muslim which are assimilated Thai culture Further, we have the Persian Muslim, Taiwanese Muslim, Chad Khmer Muslim, South Asian Muslim, and Chinese Muslim in Thailand, which contributed to Thai history. For the Islamic institution in Thailand, we can divide it into two categories. First, under the government. Second is non-government. The first one, which is under the government, it is to say that the Islamic institution of Chula Ratchamontri in Thai language, but we can call that Sekun Islam in English. Can you hear me?
Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. The title of Chula Ratchamontri was initially used in the 1611 during the Ayutthaya kingdom period. We can say that the role of Chula Ratchamontri, the function of Chula Ratchamontri is to conceal the king and the government regarding Islam matter. The Ministry of Education shall establish the Islamic College at a suitable time. The principal and the second government Islamic institution is Dato Yutitam. In Thai language, we call Dato Yutitam or Al-Qadi, the judge, which is famous and familiar to Thai Malay Muslim in southern part of Thailand. This is true of the Islamic institution which is under the government. And the second category is the Thai, the non-government institution, such as the Islamic institution, namely the pondok, concentrated in Indonesia, right? In Thailand, we call pondok, or in Malay language. In Thailand also, in Thai language, they also call pondok. It is Islamic institution. We have traditional Islamic institution, Tariq, we call Tariq. We can say the foundation of Islamic school. And the third is the integrated Islamic private school, which is very famous, of course, the Thai, of course, Thailand, but they are very famous in southern part of Thailand. You can see here in Thailand now the government try to give the freedom to Muslims to contribute their own society, even though they are not a majority such as Indonesia or Malaysia, but we can say that Thailand has freedom to practice such this thing. And actually, I just want to speak further, but for inconvenience, I just want to give you the some glimpse about the institution of Islamic in Thailand. Okay, sir. And now I just want to finish.
Okay, Doctor, there's one question from the floor. How the condition of the pondok, because in Thailand they call it pondok. So would you like to let us now the picture of the pondok? Is it spread out in the area of southern Thailand, or we can find it
Yes.
all over the kingdom?
Yes, actually, the pondok in Thailand they are spread over the kingdom, especially in central In central, it means in Bangkok, territorial Bangkok, like Nonthaburi province, Pathum Thani province, and also in upper south of Thailand. They are Malay Muslim, but assimilated Thai culture. They speak Thai, not Malay, like the southern part of Thailand. But there are so many Pondo over there, which is they still learn in Jawi script, like Arabic script in Malay language. But for the most popular now is the Islamic private school that is spread over the country, whether in south, central, and northern part of Thailand, like my integrated private Islamic school. They teach both Islamic school and the worldly matters, which we call integrated Islamic school. Yes, sir.
Okay, one more question from the floor. How the encounters of Thai Muslim with the Indonesian people, since in Bangkok we can find Java Mosque or Jawa Mosque, we can find Makassar, and is it the encounters of Indonesian Muslim and Thai Muslim, or what's the idea?
Idea is that the Javanese Muslim, they are already integrated in Thai culture. They are familiar with neighbors. I mean, with other faiths. Then there's no problem anymore about the uniqueness. They can assimilate to any other Muslim and also other faith like Buddhist or Christian in the area. So.
Okay. The last question from the floor. How the integration between Thai Muslim to the kingdom, since the kingdom is Buddhist root of the country. So is there any kind of problem, or this is an opportunity to extend the da'wah of the Thai Muslim to the society?
I can say that there's some historical conflict in southern part of Thailand, which they are Malay Muslim, which I just mentioned earlier that they are unique in their own tradition, their own custom. They still wanted to have their own autonomous, but still I think right now the situation is getting better, but some some group that behind the scenes trying to put political agenda to divide it between the two groups. It's kind of that, but others, Malay Muslim and even other ethnic Muslim, they are integrated to to the kingdom. Like upper south, in central, in northern part of Thailand, there are no problem. Only in deep south, we can say that there are still a couple of the kind of it's not religious problem. I can say that it's ethnic conflict between the two ethnic, between Malay, Muslim, and Siamese Buddhist. Yes, sir.
Okay, so would you like to deliver a short closing statement, sir? To end up our session for tonight.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm very thank you for your invitation to the conference. Very useful and productive. And unfortunately, it's my own problem that I was not ready, and it's created lots of problem. And I think it's not perfect for tonight, but Alhamdulillah, I can still get in the conference. I want, inshallah, next time I want to, I will prepare it for better outcome. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for Dr. Arifin Yama from Chulalongkorn University already joined us for tonight, and have a nice trip, Doctor.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Professor.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our session for today. We already have Professor Dr. Andi Faisal Bakti as the first keynote, and the second one we have Professor Dr. Nasir Nayan from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris, Malaysia, and the last one we have Dr. Arifin Yama from Chulalongkorn University of Thailand. Once again, sekali lagi Bapak Ibu, di kolom Zoom group chat ada Google Form untuk keperluan sertifikat dan undangan untuk esok hari. Insya Allah kita akan mulai sebagaimana tadi kita sudah mulai tepat pukul 8 malam, dan juga besok kita akan mulai pukul 10 waktu Kendari atau waktu Indonesia Tengah dengan dua invited speaker, Dr. Tasim Abu Bakar dari University Brunei Darussalam, kemudian yang satunya lagi adalah Dr. Satya dari India, kemudian ada dua panel dari dosen STIE 66. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu, terima kasih Prof. Andi Faisal Bakti masih bersama-sama dengan kita, terima kasih Prof. Nasir Nayan, terima kasih Dr. Arifin Yama, terima kasih semuanya. Mohon maaf atas segala kekurangan jikalau dalam memandu opening session dan keynote speaker, 3 keynote speaker kita pada malam hari ini. Sekali lagi, sebuah kehormatan bagi Sekolah Tinggi Ilmu Ekonomi 66, Universitas Sulawesi Tenggara, dan MASIKA ICMI, Majelis Sinergi Kalam Ikatan Cendekiawan Muslim se-Indonesia, menyelenggarakan ICEASD International Conference on Environmental Awareness for Sustainable Development yang kita laksanakan alhamdulillah dalam 3 tahun berturut-turut. Sekali lagi terima kasih atas kesediaan semua dari kita untuk turut bergabung, dan begitu pula dari para keynote speaker. Mohon maaf atas segala kekurangan. Billahi taufiq hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Silahkan Bapak Ibu. Besok insya Allah kita akan mulai tepat pukul 10. Zoom group chat akan kita buka tepat pukul 9.30. Selamat malam dan selamat melanjutkan aktivitas.